All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Learn It Live. I'm so excited that you can join us, and I'm super excited for our guest presenter. It's Glenn Grant, and he is the owner and creative director for Endeavor Video Marketing. He's lived in Wildomar for 18 years, and he's produced countless television commercials, marketing videos for local businesses, and he's accomplished. He's gotten 3 Telly Awards, and he has a 2020 Emmy nomination for the PSA for Tiffany's Gift that he produced. He also specializes in creating content strategies, and that helps local businesses grow and accomplish their business goals. So take it away, Glenn, and thank you so much for being here.
All right. Well, thank you, Heather. I certainly appreciate the opportunity, and thank you to everybody for tuning in. It's kind of interesting for me to be on this side of the camera. I typically like to be on the other side of the camera. So if you see my eyes wandering a lot, I've got a little bit of buttons and gadgets and an iPad for my presentation. So we'll go ahead right into it. Basically, it's talking about how to make video work for your business. I'm going to skip a lot of the data on the importance of using video online. There's obscene statistics out there about how much video is consumed, billions of hours and all this kind of stuff. We can never watch it all, even though some people seem to try. So I'm guessing if you're here, you're probably already interested in video and how to use it. So it's not so much about if you should use video, but how can you make the best out of the video that you're using. If you're not sure if video is a good strategy for you, then I'll give you a hint. Yes, it is a good strategy for you. All right, so now my slides. Basically, we're going to talk about some of the best practices for social media video. We all know when it comes to sales, people say, you know, the ABCs. You should always be closing. That's not really the rule when it comes to social media marketing. This is more the exception to the rule. We want to be able to build an audience is what we're really trying to do. So then when we do put content out there that is more of a sales presentation, let's say, then you're going to have that audience captured there for you. Sales and marketing, they often go together, but they're still two different things. If you go on a date, it might be dinner and a movie, but that's still dinner and a movie. But together, it makes for a wonderful date. And salt and pepper, the same kind of thing. When used properly, it can really make everything else that you're doing work that much better. So we're going to go ahead and forget about that always be closing. We don't want to do that. Sales and marketing, there you go. So we like to look at the 80-20 rule, okay? That basically means that 80% of your content should be engaging. It should be the kind of stuff that people want to see. What are they looking for? What kind of stuff is going to build your name, your brand. You want to build that recognition, and you want to build trust. No one's going to unfollow you because you don't hard sell them, right? So if you're giving nice fluff, interesting pieces, interesting content, nobody's going to unfollow you for that. But if you're always selling them, if every time they see your posts, it's buy this, buy this, buy this, then they're just going to mute you, or you just kind of turn into the background noise and they're going to be ignoring you anyway. So if you search for how long should my videos be, right? It's a great question. The answer, if you search this online, it's always different. Every different website that has information, it's either they're basing it on different criteria or, you know, it's a month old. There's always any kind of stats that you're looking for it. So I always tell people, look, keep it interesting. All right. You want to keep your message concise, keep your audience engaged, and keep them wanting more. All right. So shorter is usually better. But the content isn't the only deciding factor as well. So this is the point that a lot of people miss. You got to consider what is the mindset for your audience when they're watching it. Okay. And then you got to consider too, what is the goal of the content that you're putting out there. Okay. So if you're on Instagram, the main, suggestion is about 30 seconds. people are there, they're really quick, they're just looking to see, what's going on in the world, just quick updates, okay? Anything longer than a minute and they put it on their Insta TV platform, which isn't, it's not that big of a difference, but it's a little bit of an extra step for your audience. And that's more effective if you already have a large following built up and people are looking at your content because they want it. That's more about, influencers and people who are just putting out content, and not so much our local businesses who are looking for sales and marketing. Twitter is a lot the same thing. It's a little bit of an older audience, so they might have a longer attention span, but that's why we can get away with about 45 seconds typically. And again, it's more of a platform. People are looking for headlines and highlights. So you can use this as a way to tease them, to drive them back to your website to see more content, or if you want to drive them to your YouTube channel. That just depends on what the strategy is of your marketing campaign that you're working on. Okay. Facebook, you can go a little bit longer here. About a minute seems to be the sweet spot for that. But again, you want to give them a taste of the content that you're putting out there. It's a good opportunity to drive traffic back to your website where you can really capture their attention. If your primary goal is more about building followers and just building brand awareness, then you can go longer, maybe 2-minute videos that are the complete content that people don't have to look at other places, and stuff that's really easy for people to like and share. So again, it really depends on what that strategy is for those Facebook videos. So some of your content might be on Facebook and it might only be 10, 15 seconds. Some of it might be 2 minutes. It doesn't always have to be the same. That brings us to YouTube. So again, content really is king here. You want to give them something satisfying so they don't want to leave. When people are searching on YouTube, that's where they're really consuming the content. So it's not so much the platform to use to try to drive people to your website. You can, and it still works that way. Obviously, if you're engaging, if you're putting out good content, people are going to want more. The way to do that, though, with YouTube is to have supplemental content online. So let's say you're doing a cooking show and you're doing a demonstration there, and it maybe lasts 2 minutes, maybe it's 5 minutes, but then online, then maybe there's a recipe that they can print out, that type of stuff. But typically on YouTube, people are looking for content, not resources to find other content, if that makes sense. I hope so. So one of the things you want to do is you want to try to keep it short as much as possible. If it's something that they want to watch and you can keep it engaging, then you can go ahead and you can make it longer. You can add more content as long as you keep it engaging. Don't buy into the idea that nobody watches anything longer than 2 minutes. We've been running this for about 8.5 minutes, and I really hope somebody's still watching. I'm trying to pay attention to the screen and nothing else. But anyway, so remembering what the target audience is there. Different platforms have different target ages, different use patterns, different times of day that people are looking for things. At 10 o'clock in the morning, people probably aren't looking for restaurants. At 8 o'clock at night, they could be researching the next car that they want to buy. So it's really looking at what those audience matrix are and what their habits are, and knowing who your target audience is to really be able to reach them. All right. Let's see next. Okay, here's another. This is a really good hint for you, is how to engage with your audience. One thing that's very important, and this has some statistics in here, so I'm going to look closely at my notes. You want to post native to the platform. So that means if you're Twitter, Facebook, whatever, don't just use a YouTube video that you like and link to your Facebook account. You want to post the video actually on Facebook and YouTube separately. And I know there's arguments in there that says, well, if you put it one place and then share it, it helps your view counts. However, think of this: YouTube is making a bid to Facebook is making a bid to displace YouTube as the king of content online. So when you post something there, you have 478% greater chance of shares if it's a Facebook video than it is anywhere else. And that's because Facebook is going to put that video in front of more people. And specifically compared to YouTube videos, it's 1,000% higher average share rate. All right. So Facebook is pumping their stuff and they're burying YouTube stuff. All right. It's just important to them that they establish themselves as that leader in content and not YouTube. But again, post it both places because YouTube is a huge search engine in and of itself. In fact, I would say I use YouTube for search more than I do Google now. It just occurred to me for some of the projects that I'm working on. I love how-to videos and all that stuff. Okay, another good tip is use text. All right, so 50 to 80% of videos are seen and not even heard. All right. Think about, your family sitting around and watching TV. I don't have the capacity to do two things at once. So I sit there and I watch TV. I look around at the rest of my family, not to throw anybody out into the bus, but they're looking at their phones and other content as both things are happening. But they're not listening to any videos that scroll by. So another thing that's nice about posting native, especially to Facebook, as you're scrolling through your feed, those Facebook videos will automatically start playing. So you can instantly catch people's attention. But they're probably not listening. There's a good chance that they're not listening to you. And then 65% of Facebook videos are actually viewed on a phone. All right. So again, you want to keep that, that target in mind. And, that's going to skew heavier to the younger generation. They're going to be more likely to be on their phone than the older generation. If you're going young enough, they're not even going to be on Facebook anyway. So it's really being able to balance what your message is and where your people are going to be consuming that. All right, another great way to generate engagement with your audience is to ask questions. You don't want to undermine your authority as the expert, but you want to have open-ended questions that can be engaging. For example, is it tomato or tomato? Comment in the sections below. Like if it's tomato, share if it's tomato. You see that type of stuff. So you don't want to necessarily ask questions because you don't know the answer to them, but it's ways to engage and get some dialogue going. So now that's a good time to see, are there any questions so far? I've been railroading through this and was going to ask already. Is that good? Should I keep going?
Yeah, you can keep going.
Right.
We just have comments about the quality of your video being movie ready. So
movie ready. Fantastic.
It's gorgeous.
Can anybody even tell? It's not even me, really. It's just a stuntman that I hired.
Oh my gosh, I love it. We don't have any questions just yet, but as a reminder, everybody, if you do have questions, just put them in the comments and we'll get to them, okay?
Okay, great. Am I going too fast? Am I doing well?
You're doing awesome.
Okay. It's really weird not having any of that live feedback. I'm a video guy, but like I said, I like the other side of the camera. All right. All right. Thank you, Heather. All right. So on that, so ask questions. Make sure that you're engaging. And when you do, make sure you stay engaged with the comments and the threads. If somebody asks you a question, answer it. If they're asking somebody else or if they're tagging a friend, make sure that you're propelling that conversation forward. Don't just let it die on the vine. I mean, obviously, after time, it's going to slow down and nobody's going to be, it's not going to be even in anybody's feed anymore. But every time people comment and share and like it, that's going to get that video posted back up to the top of the list again. All right. And it's going to increase your chances of more people seeing it. Another thing is, suggest to people to tag their friends, right? Anybody watching right now, hey, you could go on, tag this video, tag your friend and say, hey, check this out. This guy might know what he's talking about. We'll see. Anyway, another nice thing, for a bar might be, hey, tag a friend that you want to go have drinks with tonight. Well, assuming that we could go out and do that kind of stuff, but sooner or later we'll be able to do that again. And then also, comment with your favorite. What was your favorite memory from this? Again, I'm trying to keep this as broad as I can because it's specific for everybody's business. It's always going to be a little bit different depending on what it is that you're doing. But trying to get everybody who's watching this now to be able to think of how this relates to their business. And if you need help with that, that's what the question section will be for later, or certainly everybody can reach out to me. All right, so I kind of already went over this. Make sure you're engaging with your content. Keep that snowball rolling, right? Somebody comments something, even if you're not replying, like it, love it, share that comment, all right? And then also remember, as you're developing your content, make sure you take advantage of the fact that you're running a video, all right? It doesn't necessarily, it doesn't play the same as written content. It's not a written blog that you'd have. It's not a flyer. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with video that those mediums don't. So you want to make sure you're taking advantage of that. It's hard to give some specifics of that, but basically the rule of thumb we like to show is, is show it, don't say it, right? Well, and since Heather opened the door with the comments and all that stuff, I could say, hey, we're capable of producing high quality streaming video. But instead I took an extra, hour today, not quite maybe, to set up and make sure that it looked good. All right. So there, I went and said it anyway, which reinforces the point. I hope you guys are laughing and smiling a little bit. All right. So another way to make sure that you are engaging content is to create content that your audience wants to see. All right. Not just what you think they should know. All right. What is your target audience looking for? And it might not always be 100% directly related to you or to your business. It could be what are common interests that your target audience has. A fine restaurant, their clientele may have a shared interest in fine wine. Maybe it's in travel. So they can be doing that type of content that's centered around that and not just advertising for the restaurant. Come and see us. We have great food. All right. So now if we reconsider then that 80-20% rule, 80% of our content is going to be that engaging, fun content that people want to see. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, about how to come up with some of those ideas. What is that engaging content supposed to look like? But for now, let's look real quick at the 20% that's going to be ads, okay? Once you get everybody's attention and they're following you along, every now and then you can go ahead and you can hit them with an ad, okay? Another statistic for you is 47% of the value of video comes within the first 3 seconds. So what that means is basically, even if somebody only sees that first portion of an ad, if it's done correctly, then you're going to go ahead and get that brand recognition out there. You're going to get that logo out there. You're going to start building that reputation of a valuable resource. Okay. So this really helps. The metric is for ad recall, brand awareness, and it builds purchase intent, right? How often do you see something that you intend to buy and you kind of forget about it, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, I wanted to get it. We're not even ad retag, content distribution, and all that kind of stuff today, because that's a double-edged sword. If done wrong, you're going to drive people away in droves. So of course, it's better if people watch your entire ad rather than the first 3 seconds. So you still want to make sure that it's done engaging correctly and you can get their attention right away. But even when you're doing stuff that 80% of your content is engaging and it's that good stuff, when your ad shows up and that 20% shows up, your audience is going to be more likely to sit and watch it, all right, rather than every time an ad shows up for, I won't throw any insurance agencies under the bus, but watching Hulu, you see the same ads all the time, and that ad pops up and your brain, you just shut off. You don't care. So this way, even when an ad does show up, you're still engaged. You're still paying attention to what's going on. So let's see, what do we got next? All right. So one of the other things we'll talk about a little bit here is using video to streamline your business. If anybody has questions on any of that other content, we can come back to that in a little bit. But basically, you want to talk a little bit more about using video beyond marketing, okay? How do you use video to streamline your business? Some of the options here would be employee training. It's kind of an obvious one, but look, if you've got a high turnover or some complex systems in place, it's much easier to kind of do the training video once on camera, and that way you know all of your employees have the same content and they've all been through it. But not only employee training, but how about client and customer training? What do you want your clients to know either before they start working with you or even after, kind of an onboarding process? Depending on what your business or your service is, it might be a complex process. I know for video production, it's a complex process. Even once we sign a contract, there's a lot that goes on before we get to show up and start shooting. There's a lot that goes on before I send over sample scripts or bullet points and outlines. So what's that process? And then that way your customer knows what's happening. They feel like they're well taken care of, and they don't have to call and interrupt your day or you know, bug you all the time. Not that customers bug us, but if they're calling you, that means that they feel unsure of the process of what's going on. So you can head that off by making sure that they understand what's going on. Also, another way of looking at of using video is in the client selection process, making sure that you're attracting the right types of clients that you want to work with. And this gets a little bit into, you know, personality studies and really identifying what you're looking for, but making sure when you craft this overlaps into the marketing videos, when you craft those, are you sending a message that's going to attract the right kind of person? And then having it, you know, it can be flat out. I know of clients who, and people that I've worked with that flat out say, hey, look, this is how we operate. And, you know, if somebody doesn't like it, then fine, don't call. You know, it's done. It's polite. It's not blunt, but it's making sure that you really cultivate the best clients that are a good suit for you. Another thing that kind of relates to that is the concept of sales funnels and drip campaigns. Basically, that's a sales and marketing technique. Probably most of everybody watching today is at least familiar with that, but it's an engaging way rather than just an email. It can be a series of videos that take your potential customers along that journey. What's that customer experience like to get them to finally act on whatever it is that you're looking for? Also, in order to get people to opt into a drip campaign, hey, a training video could be as a informational video is a great way is great content that the delivery system can be free. You don't have to ship anything out, but that's content that people can use. Again, you got to make sure it's engaging and it's something that they want, not just the stuff that you're trying to tell them. It's got to be content that they want to have. But that's a great way to get people to opt into your email, to follow you on Facebook, or to sign up for basically what's going to end up being the drip campaign. Next up would be product demos. A lot of people in sales, and depending on what you have, it might be very difficult to take a product with you everywhere you go. So product demos is a great way to use video, and also usage training videos, how to do it, how to assemble stuff. It's pretty common now when we buy anything, when we buy new electronics, the books used to be this thick, the manual. Now it's a PDF and a link to a YouTube video that shows you how to assemble whatever it is you bought. I don't know if IKEA is up on this yet. We'll have to try that. So let's see. Also, another great one is a thank you video when you're done with the client, right? I know a lot of businesses, especially if you're looking at Facebook marketing and social media marketing, a lot of people build their businesses off of just referrals. It's repeat business, it's friends referring friends, and that can be a great way to build businesses. But imagine, so once you close business with somebody, hey, here's a thank you video, and make sure you ask for that. Make sure you ask for that referral, and you have content that then that person can forward to the person that they're referring, if that makes sense. So you finish a project for person A, send them a video saying thank you, and then that's a video that they can forward to their friends. Or specific content on Facebook. If you look at Facebook, people in search of, I'm looking for a new barber. and you're going to get 20 different people referred, and that's great. But how do you, as that barber, stand up from the rest? Or if you really love your barber, how do you make sure that that barber gets used? So even though you're being referred, you still can use video as a tool to make sure that that you can help close that deal and solidify that relationship. All right. Oh, I got behind on my slides. All right, so now we can look at budgeting. All right, and Heather, you can pipe in at any time if there's any questions that we should get on before we go too far. Otherwise, I'll keep rolling. I
do have a couple. Okay. You might address them later on, so we'll ask them now, and if we'll address them later on, we'll address them. So one is, how important is your background to a presentation? Yours looks great.
How important is it?
Yes.
Well, you know, gosh, here, it depends. No, for me, obviously, this was important to me. I wanted to make sure that what I was presenting was quality, that it looked and sounded nice. Heather's background looks different, but it's very appropriate for Heather's position, for what she's doing, and for our environment. And anybody else who's doing this, the Learn It Live sessions, you don't need all of this, you know. Obviously, being the video guy, I'm going to want it to stand out and look good. So it kind of, you know, if you think along the lines of, you know, your outfit, your attire, you want it to look good, and you want it to be representative of the level of business that you provide, right? A businessman's going to wear a suit. A personal trainer is going to have, you know, a t-shirt, and that's a reasonable assumption. I tend to, and we can maybe talk more about, you know, Zoom and setting up a Zoom, and how, you know, for anybody else who wants to have a setup like this, it's not really that difficult, especially if you're doing it a lot. Once you have it dialed in and you know what you're doing. So I tend to avoid the background, the green screen background and the fake background, unless you have a really a decent plain backdrop that can be keyed out easily, and then something that looks nice and professional. You know, I know Girl Design is a designer that I know, Crystal, and she does, she has like some free backgrounds that you can use, or they can customize it. So that way you have your logo over the corner. Maybe it looks like you're in a big office room or whatever. So that's good. Now, what you don't want, and what is important, is, you know, you don't want it to be a mess. That's why I'm downstairs and I'm not upstairs in my office. You know, you don't want it to be cluttered and distracting. You know, let's put it that way. Did that help at all?
I think so. I think that was a great answer.
If we have more time, then I'll go over kind of, you know, a little bit about what my setup is and how, you know, it's relatively easy to set it up.
Okay, we have one more question. They're asking, would you recommend using TikTok to reach younger audiences? Is it recommended for businesses? Gosh,
you know what? To be 100% honest, I just had a conversation with my kids. That's great for Instagram and TikTok. It's talking to my kids. You know, TikTok has had a lot of bad press lately. There's, you know, concerns as to, you know, are the Chinese spying on us? Is TikTok listening to you all the time? So for right now, for that reason alone, it may be something that you don't necessarily want to associate your brand with. But if, you know, so TikTok's a younger audience. If that's your target audience, if that's where they're hanging out, they don't care about, you know, their parents might, you know. So again, it kind of, as far as time and all that stuff, it kind of falls into the Instagram category. It's going to be short and sweet. You know, a little bit of text on there, nothing too complex. And again, not because the audience can't handle it, but because that's not the place. But yeah, if you're doing something fun and goofy and want to get people's attention, go for it. You know, if so, there's, I would say yes then. How's that for
I love it.
Too late to make a long answer short, but I would say, you know, all things considered, If it's the right fit for you, I wouldn't avoid TikTok. But it's not as easy of a platform to embrace as some of the others.
Right. So if your audience is there, make sure you're there for your audience, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Yep.
Well, those are the questions I have so far. We'll jump back into your presentation.
All right, great. Well, let's look at budgeting a little bit, okay? The classic question people ask, so how much does a video cost? And that's, it's a great question. It's a very fair question. I use the analogy that it's a lot like getting a new car, okay? So you can get a small car, oops, wrong button. You can get a small car that's economical, that's easy to drive and gets you from point A to B, or you can go out and you can buy yourself a Bentley, right? They're both going to accomplish the same goals, but much different, all right? Now, if you take that a little bit further and think of something like a Tesla, they're pretty nice cars, but they're not as expensive as people might think. If you go to their website, you can look, a brand new Model 3 you can get for under $40,000. When you add in or subtract the government rebates and other incentives that they have, you're getting closer to low 30s, $31,000. And it looks great and it looks fantastic. Now you can also go and take that same Tesla and put the high-end batteries and motor in it and ludicrous mode, and now you're back up to $90,000. So there's a lot to look at between picking the car you want and then what you want to do with it. And so that really applies to video. You can look at, when you're comparing different budgets, different bids, not only is what's the final product going to be, but this is what I like to spend a lot of my time on is, what else can we as a marketing agency, as video marketers do to help make sure you get that high performance out of that video. So it's not just buying the video, but it's getting the best out of it. All right. And, much like Tesla, I just for personal reference, Endeavor Video Marketing, we're not the cheapest in town. We're not the most expensive in town. Our goal is to really provide that bang for the buck. Okay. So what goes into that budget? What are you spending your money on when it comes to that? You got to look at pre-production. How much of a polished idea do you already have? Sometimes people show up to us, they have a script. We go through a couple of rewrites, maybe suggest some stuff that they didn't think of. Being a video producer, I would hope that I would have some input on that as to, be able to sculpt and mold that idea that they're looking for. But then we've got scheduling, we've got location scouting if it's necessary, which usually it certainly helps. Sometimes if it's a lower budget, then, maybe we can't do that and we show up prepared, ready to shoot. But if they're whoever you're dealing with, you really want to make sure you have the kind of relationship and they understand your goals so they can work with you on that budget. After that comes into production. That's where things can really change as to, what's really under the hood on this. Are we running one camera? Are we doing two cameras, maybe even three cameras? Are they borrowing three cameras from their buddies, or do they have three cameras that match and it's all going to look nice and edit together right? Are they bringing in any auxiliary lighting? Right now, my key light source is coming from my window, but I got a second light that I'm bouncing in to fill in the shadows on my face. So that can definitely affect your budget. And it could be a way to save money. It's the end results, are going to be worth it, but not everything necessarily needs that, high of a production value. What kind of audio are they going to be including? Do they, have the proper audio equipment to make sure that it's going to sound good? Everything's going to sound right. How much time are they going to spend editing? What kind of graphics are they adding? Are they adding music? What happens about changes? If you want to put a change order in, how much of that's covered? So there's really a lot that goes in there. And so people look at, the bottom line for one estimate and the bottom line from another, and they could be hugely different. But you really got to evaluate what's going on with that. And so it can be difficult when people say, well, what does a video cost? you know, we gotta kind of work our way through that process. And, you know, what other kind of tools and equipment do they have? You know, if a repairman shows up at your house and all he has is one wrench and a hammer, maybe he can get the job done. But, you know, typically they're going to have a truck full of spare parts and tools. And so whatever comes up, they can handle it at that particular moment. And again, you know, we've got to be reasonable here. We're not going to have a Hollywood grip truck, you know, showing up out front. But within reason, for the level of quality that you as a client would expect, you know, do they really have everything that they're going to need to pull that off? So what I'll usually do for Endeavor Video Marketing, we'll put together a proposal that also includes the scope of the project and the budget. We'll also go over what the goals are of the project and how we propose to accomplish that. And with that, we'll also include a schedule for completion and then a budget breakdown. It's not necessarily line item every single thing, but we try to leave enough flexibility in there. So if we have to work on some numbers to reach a specific budget, then we can show, okay, here are the trade-offs. You know, we can run with just one camera instead of a second camera angle. You know, maybe we do less on the graphic side of things and rely more on your in-house graphic team to supply those. So there's any number of things that we can do to kind of break that down for people. So the big question when it comes to budgeting is much like buying a car. You know, when you go out to buy a car, you know, if you're going, which dealership, you know, you're heading to. You might look at Chevys and Fords and Hondas, but you're not going to go to the Bentley dealership unless you know that's what you're looking for. So basically, you know, the budget depends on what you're comfortable with and what you hope to accomplish on, you know, with that video. So we look at what the return on the investment is going to be. Some projects are difficult to gauge what that ROI is going to be, because maybe they're based on the customer satisfaction. It's building customer loyalty. It's some of that online content, that 80% that's not direct sales might be difficult to really look at how what that return is. But over time, you can gauge, okay, how has it performed building our online audience? You know, so it might not be an immediate return unless you have, hey, it's a big coupon, buy now, call us today. But over time, you should see that reflected in your bottom line. And because ultimately, what's your goal as a business owner? It's to, you know, it's to be profitable, it's to make more money. So of course, the goal of every project is to help you with that. But more specifically, it might be to grow your audience online. Maybe it's to sell a particular event. If you have a live event, live music one night, you want to make sure you're packing the house. So the end goal, the main goal for video isn't always dollars and cents, but we have to look at that and be able to apply that. But if each video has that goal assigned to it, then it's much easier for you to also assign a value to it. And again, it may not be a dollar value, but then you can it's a little bit easier to decide, hey, that's what I want to do. If that video will achieve that goals, then this is what my budget, you know, this is what's reasonable to spend there. Again, back to, you know, to different cars. They're all going to, you know, within reason, get you from A to B. But do you want to do it in style? You know, do you just want to show up, or are you hauling a bunch of lumber and you really need a truck? So those are kind of the things to look there. Also consider that large goals typically will have milestones, right? You're not achieving everything all at once. You have steps planned out to reach those milestones, and that builds up to achieving your goals. So you can consider a video campaign, that 80% and 20%. Consider that video campaign that each one of those videos is attached to one of those milestones. So this video, the purpose of this video is to get to this next milestone. All right. And that could be, you know, building relationships. It could be, you know, before we increase sales, we want to make sure we increase our following on Facebook. So maybe instead of 80-20, you're going to go, you know, 95-5, and it's going to be almost all fluff, good content that, you know, you're not making a ton of money off, but you're really establishing yourself as an expert in the field So then you're going to reap those dividends later on. And so this is the area that I really enjoy working with clients and building those relationships, rather than, hey, we want to produce a video and we show up and we shoot the video and we edit it and we send it off. That's how it used to work in the days that primarily we did television advertising. We'd meet with a client, we'd produce a 30-second commercial form, we'd send it to Time Warner Cable, and and follow up a month or two later. Okay, is it time to update that commercial and that kind of stuff? As opposed to now, this is why we're Endeavor Video Marketing. It's building that relationship. What are your goals? What do you want to accomplish with it? How can we use video as a tool to make sure that you reach those goals? All right. And then with that, this leads to my favorite part of the job, is how do you find inspiration for viewers? How would you find inspiration for new ideas? All right. This is the creative side of things, right? Business owners, typically you're good at what you do. You're good at being an insurance agent. You're good at running a hospital. You're good at managing a restaurant. You're not necessarily a marketing expert. Some of the businesses we work with, they have a marketing department, so some of this is easier. But most of our clients, they have somebody who kind of coordinates their marketing, but they certainly don't have an in-house video production, and they're looking for new ideas and fresh content. So that's really a lot of what makes this enjoyable, and getting my brain running on that kind of stuff. So the other thing to think of on this is video is a toolbox. It's not just one tool, but it's a toolbox. You can use different types of videos that we've already kind of discussed to accomplish those different goals. One of the most common projects, one of the most common videos out there is the About Us video, which is a great place to start. A lot of companies, they already have them, something that's been produced. But this also tends to seem to be, if it's the only tool in your toolbox, it tends to be one of the least effective in there, if to put it, I guess, plainly. It's good content. I recommend it. But just about everybody, again, has the About Us video. And to be honest, most About Us videos it's information that the business wants the consumer to know, not necessarily information that the consumer wants to know. And so you lose out on that engagement. And it's a little bit of just a reframing the information. It's not a tectonic shift in what some of this content is, but it's making sure that you're coming at it from the right angle, and eliminating some of the fluff that's not important. And this really, again, this is one of the things that really depends on different businesses. Some businesses, it's going to be more important to have that. Other businesses, that's not so important for them as to what they're doing. So let's see. So what I like to start with for clients is what I call the what, how, and wow. What is it you do? What do you help your clients? What are the services you provide? So that way when people see this video, they know that they're in contact with the right company, that you can provide the services or the goods that they're looking for. So, what is it you can do? And there's a lot of times you hear people, even past clients, that will say, oh, I didn't know you did that. You might have been missing out on business. So really, what is it that you do? And more importantly, what is it that you really want to be doing? Sometimes, 80% of your work might be not the kind of stuff you really want to do. And so you should focus on, maybe it's the high profit projects, or it's the enjoyable projects that you want to do. So it's really, it's a matter of focusing on what you do and what you want to do with that. Let's see, next would be the, going to try to go a little bit faster so we don't take up too much time on this one. The next would be the how, and sometimes this is the why, but it's basically, what's your process? What is it that you do? What do you do that's special? Some of the content that we've already covered, overlaps with the how I do what I do as far as video production goes. Maybe it's how do you go about, what's your technique for achieving the goals that your client has? What makes you different? What makes you unique? Why should they hire you as opposed to somebody else? You know, how is it that you do it? And again, sometimes it might be the why. If you're more of a service provider, and it's a more of a personal relationship than it is contractual or exchange of goods, then it might be, why do you do it? What's your background? What can we connect? And then we definitely are getting into a lot of the about us kind of content. But in this case, it's more relevant because you're looking to make that personal connection with somebody, right? So that's the why. And then, of course, the wow is, you know, impress them. This is going to be case study videos, before and after pictures, getting your clients to do testimonials, and really taking the time to let your work speak for itself. There's a big difference between saying, hey, I'm an awesome guy and I cook great food, come to my restaurant, and somebody else saying, wow, you know what, we went there, the service was fantastic, we had a great time, it ended up being, you know, the best 50th birthday party in the world, that kind of stuff. I didn't even, you know, you didn't even mention food, but it's like, well, wow, that's the kind of place that I want to go. And it's always good to have other people sing your praises rather than patting yourself on the back. You know, you want that wingman, that third party endorsement, saying, hey, this is the kind of place you want to do business with. This is the guy or the gal that you want to engage in a long-term relationship with as they help you grow your business. So those are kind of the content that I suggest for clients. That's the tentpole content that you want on your website to impress people, to make yourself look good, to build on that relationship. It's really kind of the foundational stuff. However, if you have those on your website and they can be beautiful and perfect and you could absolutely love them and they're fantastic videos, but if nobody's going to your website in the first place, then they're not going to do you any good. Okay. You can have the best content that nobody sees and it's worthless. So there you go back to your return on investment. And if you don't have the engine to really drive viewers to those videos, then, you know, that car is not going to do you any good. All right. So one of the things that you want to do is you want to be making sure that you are providing your audience with content. Make sure you're always keeping stuff up on a regular basis. Okay. You want to be working on building your audience, making sure that people are liking and sharing. So that way you can have even more people that then when you hit that 20% of ads, instead of only having 1,000 followers, now you have 5,000 followers. That's going to get you a huge increase, even if you still maintain a 6%, you know, click-through rate. All right. This is a good time to establish yourself as an expert. Make sure that, hey, even if people don't need your services now, you stay top of mind. You're the expert. When they're ready, then they're gonna contact you when they're ready to move forward. You know, a lot of networking. They tell us that we do business with people we know, like, and trust. All right. So be putting content out there on a regular basis that helps people get to know you, like you, and trust you. And you want to be a resource, you know, have information out there that, again, back to, you know, looking at content that isn't directly related to your business, but stuff that's going to be valuable to your clients, your target audience. So they see you as a resource, whether it's for buying something for you or if it's for something else that they know that they're going to need. And this helps you stay top of mind. And again, that goes back to that first 3 seconds. Even if people aren't watching, even if they're not really looking, if they just kind of see that you're out there and you're putting stuff out and they know there's content coming, that's going to help them think of you when the time is right. All right, so what type of content do we want to be putting out there on a regular basis? One thing that's really good are frequently asked questions, the FAQs. People are searching for them, so it's really good for search engines. Videos, again, people on YouTube that are searching YouTube for this kind of stuff. FAQs. The downside to FAQs are that's the first place a lot of people go for producing their content. So there's a lot of it out there. So I like to go the next step is should ask questions. What are the questions that your clients should be asking you so they can make a better and more informed decision when deciding who they're going to do business with? All right. and it helps them be comfortable working with you, and again, establishing you as an expert. How-to videos, the same kind of thing. There's a lot of people out there who, no matter what, they're going to do it themselves. They're going to replace their water heater, and they're not going to call a plumber to do it. But if they run into trouble and they see a how-to video, hey, maybe now, okay, I'll call that guy. Because when you're doing the how-to videos, it shows that you're invested in helping your clients and achieving their goals or fixing their pains. You're not just out there about trying to make money, okay? And if you treat people right and you do a good job, the money's going to come. Next up would be content marketing, all right? The aftermarket automobile parts have really nailed this, all right? Folks that are into 4x4 trucks and Jeeps and stuff, they'll watch a half-hour infomercial on how to install a new carburetor and not even realize that they're being sold to. It's just content that they enjoy. Either the distributor who's putting out there, the manufacturer, maybe they're in tandem doing this kind of stuff. They're the ones who they reap those benefits because of that brand recognition and building that goodwill. And this kind of also comes into a trend that's kind of fading away because it isn't as effective as people thought it would be, but influencers. I want to be a Instagram influence and everybody can watch me and do what I do. But it's the same kind of thing. We watch people out there having fun, enjoying a good time and all of that stuff. And then we want to know, hey, what beer are they drinking? That's what I'm going to drink too. All right. And then another thing you can do is promote your business partners. I work with a lot of clients on that. When we do a video for client A, and all they're doing is they're promoting their partner because they refer stuff back and forth to each other. All right. It builds goodwill for you. It builds goodwill for your partners, and it makes you likable and trustworthy. Then the other thing that I really suggest is a content calendar. Okay. Making sure that you're not trying to figure this stuff out every day when you wake up. What am I going to post today? I don't know. But really looking ahead, if February comes every February 14th, excuse me. Valentine's Day comes every February 14th. I forget, obviously, but if I'm a florist and on February 14th that morning, hey, if I'm putting something towards guys that says, hey guys, you forgot it's Valentine's Day, you better go, then it's going to work. But if I'm, maybe selling jewelry online, I better be advertising Valentine's Day early. And again, that's why we go to Home Depot in October, and they got Christmas decorations out, right? Because people got to buy their Christmas decorations and do all that. They didn't decorate their store for Christmas. It looks like it, but they're just trying to sell the stuff so the people who need it have it in November. After Thanksgiving is when your Christmas decorations go up. So it's planning ahead on that. So then you're not caught at the last minute trying to figure out, oh gosh, what am I supposed to do with this? And a lot of companies that I work with, they have people that manage their social media, but not necessarily that handle the creative half or the content creation half, right? I don't get into managing social media accounts. I have referral partners that I work with on that, but a lot of our clients, they have somebody who handles that day to day, that makes sure they're engaging, that makes sure they're responding to people's questions and comments. But then we produce the content so they have the video to put up there. All right. And that pretty much takes me to the end of everything that I had prepared. So if there's any questions or anything that I missed, I'd love to see what everybody has to say.
Yeah, so we actually had a really good question come in just in that last kind of segment. They ask, would the what, how, and wow be 3 separate videos or segments of one introduction video? How would you recommend that?
That is actually a wonderful question, and the answer is that is 3 separate videos. This comes to the engaging part of it. You want to leave people wanting more, right? You'd rather have a video that somebody says, oh, that's too short, and they're going to click on the next video, than be like, okay, cool, I get the point and I'm done with it. All right. And a lot of times a lot of About Us videos, that's how they come out. And that's, again, why I say I avoid the concept of About Us. And collectively, those videos paint that picture about us. But yeah, that's separating it down into the different steps. Now with that, you maybe there's a shorter promo that's a highlight, that maybe that's the featured video on your homepage that has a little bit of a tease of each little one, and you can do that. A problem that we run into with video is, it's a complex process that we're going through. And for me, I understand it's what I do, but for other people, they want to cram everything into one quite often, you know. And if you try to be everything for everyone, you end up missing the mark all over the place. So that's why I'd say each video should have one specific goal. What is the point of that video? If the point of that video is to wow your clients, then anything that doesn't do that, can go somewhere else. And it could all be great content, but not to drive up the price of a project, but you're better off with, multiple videos than you are with one. And in all honesty, price-wise, that shouldn't change things a whole lot. For us, the biggest chunk of a budget is production days. When we show up to shoot, it's typically a crew of 2 or 3 people. We got equipment, we got lights, we got all the stuff to set up. We've got the logistics of scheduling you and, the business owners and anybody else who might be on camera that day. I want to get as much content in that day as I can. And then you can slowly roll that content out over the period of a couple of months, rather than, all right, cool, we're going to show up this month, and then we're going to show up again next month, and we're going to show up again next month. Now, for some people, that works better, and that's what they need, because they can't necessarily forecast what that content's going to be each month. A lot of television commercials, if you're dealing with manufacturers that have incentives and they have different programs, we don't know what they're going to do. We do a lot of work for car dealerships. And typically with that, it's, hey, we schedule, we show up, we shoot, and we got to get the commercial on air in the next 48 hours. But then we don't know what the next one's going to be. So we can't necessarily forecast that.
Right. That totally makes sense. And if you want to have a wow video, go full wow, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I have a couple of other questions. Okay. So you kind of touched on a little bit about Zoom video. What are some of the tips and tricks, since we're so inundated with Zoom? What are some good Zoom video?
Okay, so hopefully I won't be repeating myself what I had said before. But again, I have set up here one of my cameras. It's connected to my computer actually through a switcher, so I can tie in my PowerPoint as well. But I highly recommend getting an external camera, not just a webcam. But since all of this happened, that people have flocked to Zoom, both Canon and Nikon have firmware updates for a lot of their cameras that now you can use the USB port on the side, plug it into your camera, to your computer, and use it as a webcam. All right. Mm-hmm. A lot of other manufacturers, Sony, Fuji, some of them already had that feature built in, but now most cameras that are less than 4 or 5 years old, you can use them as a webcam. Typically, you'd have to use an HDMI cable and then an adapter and a converter to get it into your computer. But if you do that, you can get it right away straight in. The next thing I suggest is, look for different locations. If your only option is, the background, green screened out so it looks like you're on the beach, hey, that's fine. If you're going to do that, try to get, even if you just put a flat colored sheet behind you, you don't necessarily have to go and buy a green screen. It's basically looking for anything that's a flat uniform color, and you want it to be highly contrast. If I was back there, if I had a sheet that matched my shirt, then I'd be disappearing. I think we've all seen Zooms with that. And that's one of the reasons that I say try to avoid that. you start waving your hand and you see those kind of issues. But it could be better. Then, sometimes that is the best choice. So if you're going to do the background, make sure, try to have that set up, and light. They use color and they use the brightness as the way of keying out that background. So having your face be brighter than the background, even if you're not keying it out, helps you stand off from the background a little bit. So, coming to light, it doesn't have to be a huge video light. It doesn't have to be anything expensive. It can just be a desk lamp that's aimed the right way. Taking advantage of existing lighting. Over on this side is where my kitchen window is. So that brings a lot of light. That can be difficult sometimes because as the day goes by, and for when I'm in my office, I have a preset. I have my morning zoom preset because the sun's coming in from that side. And then I have my afternoon preset because it's much different lighting, and then nighttime. So I have a little light here. It's not doing a lot, but I'll turn that off real quick. You can see, is it huge? No, but does it look better? Sure. And it's not
a respectable difference.
Yeah, and it's not that difficult to pull off. You can do it relatively easy. I think we tried this first. We tried this before. Let me see real quick. I can show you. I kind of move things around. This is, if I hit allow, this is my webcam, right? So you can see there's definitely a big difference. Now, normally I would position my computer a little bit better. That's another one of the options, making sure that you frame things up so it looks as nice as it possibly can. I've joked with people about, how many ceiling fans they see. But look, you can still see my ceiling fan in the back. But you can, again, you could achieve this setup if you already have a decent DSLR. This would cost you nothing but an hour of your time to set it up.
So just being mindful and being prepared of where you want to be set up. Yeah. Probably the first line of defense.
Yeah. And then also you want to consider audio. Again, Heather and I kind of went through a couple of audio things to make sure the audio was set up. I'm not entirely sure what it sounds like to you guys, but Heather said it sounds nice. But you want to avoid using the on-camera mic if it's going to be across the room from you. So either a separate microphone. You'll see a lot of people with the earbuds in, the AirPods, whatever. And that's always a good option as well.
Yeah, we got an external mic for me because my webcam has a mic, but it is dreadful. You can barely hear. So just getting those assets ahead of time is super important, I think. Yeah.
And, it's one of those things that, maybe, in March, maybe we thought, oh, this is going to pass. It's not going to matter. We didn't bother. I wish I had done it, beforehand. Half of anything that had anything to do with streaming was out of stock. Webcams, converters, all this stuff was bought up. But here's the thing, no matter what, sooner or later, business will go to the new normal, whatever that's going to look like. I don't know. But we've been Zooming long enough and we've found the benefits of it that it's here to stay. Yes. I can't wait to be able to meet at coffee shops again and to shake people's hands again and to have that face-to-face. However, there's definitely times, distance, availability, schedules, Zoom. It was around before, we had to socially distance, and it's going to be around again after. It's a great way. It's definitely one of the answers to how do you incorporate video into your business. And you can set something up like I have here where you can do your picture-in-picture and communicate that way so you can have better presentations. I can even set it up. I didn't for this particular thing, but you can have it so, hey, I've got a whole pre-produced video and I'm going to talk live for you a little bit and then, go into this video. I thought that might be a little bit disingenuous if I had done that.
Oh my goodness. I love it.
Maybe I did. You don't know it. No.
Well, I have maybe just another question. I think we have time for one more question. Okay. So, at the end of the day, why is video better than photos or text? Like why do they really need to focus on that?
Okay. Video is it's more engaging, and basically the statistics on through Facebook, if you look at the different numbers, and I had some information that I had printed off, and it's probably still sitting on my printer. But some things that I do remember and know off the top of my head, the average engagement for Facebook post is 3%. Okay. If it's a like, or if it's a share, you know, there's different numbers for all these different things. The highest engagement rate is for video, and that jumps to 6%. So again, when we were talking about return on investment in building your audience, and the same plays through for email. You know, the amount, if you have a monthly newsletter that you send out, and that email has a video link, people are exponentially more likely to click on that video to watch it than they are to sit and read your email. On a web page, the statistics as to how long people stay on a website, which then helps your search engine. If people are staying on your site longer, Google looks at it and says, "Ooh, it must be a good site," and now you start moving up in those rankings. And so on your website, you want that mixture. You want text that's easy for people to search, and you want that video that keeps them there for a long time. It's coming. They're making a lot of advancements in actually having video content be, quote, searchable. So somebody could say, "Hey, I want a video of some guy talking about social media marketing," and maybe I'd show up someday.
Here it is.
But you've got the rate of engagement. Video is important because the rate of engagement is way higher than it is with just a text post or even a photo. Okay. And if you go back and you think of, hey, I got that 1,000 followers and I'm posting, and I get I get to my ad, and I'm doing a hard sale, you know, post, and I get 3% engagement on that, then that's 30 people. Now, if you post a video instead, and that engagement on average goes to 6%, that's 60 people. I do easy numbers to keep it, you know. And,
I'm no mathematician.
So if you're closing on 10% of them, you just went from 3 new customers to 6 new customers. You know, and closing might be a sale, it might be a transaction, it might be they opted into your email campaign or whatever it is. But that's why video is important. It's just that much more engaging. I used to use the analogy of, you know, different books, you know, and you could rattle off how many people read certain books, you know, how many people read The Hunger Games, as to how many people saw the movie, how many people read Harry Potter, which was a lot, but how many more saw the movie, you know, and that's
when you look at it like that, that's a no-brainer for sure.
Yeah.
And really just looking at your stats, because I can totally confirm that with doing our Chambers social media and everything, and looking at the link clicks from our first thing and all of that, you know, video content is definitely click through.
Yeah. And, you know, and one other thing to think about on video content is it tends to have a long tail, right? It can last a long time. You can produce evergreen content that no matter what, it's always good. So you can have the same video that maybe you post again 6 months later, because again, at 3% engagement rate, that means 97% are missing it no matter what. Now, if you do video, now you get 6% engagement rate, but you're still, a lot of people are missing your messaging. So you can use the same video, whether you post it, you know, multiple times throughout the week at different days, different times, but then hit it up again later. People don't complain. You know, comedy doesn't repeat very well. You know, once you see something that's funny, you know the joke, then it's not as funny the next time. Some stuff, you know, you can, but eventually it wears out. But, you know, evergreen content, that just means it's good all the time, and you can always be posting it. I'm a big believer that video is part of your whole approach to your marketing and your sales. I would never tell anybody, oh, all you need to do is Facebook video. No, especially if you're doing something and it already works, keep doing it. But how can you use video to make it better? You know, so I certainly want to get that out there. I'm not saying to not do anything else. But if you consider a print ad, once that magazine goes out, once that gets on your doorstep, it's there for a couple of weeks, a couple of days, maybe 2 seconds, and somebody throws it away. But then it's gone. It's done, right? But that video lives on your website. And it's once you get people there, then they can look at this whole library of content that you have, and they're like, wow, that dude really knows what they're talking. Don't go to my website. I don't have a lot of video on there.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like the cobbler with holes in my shoes, or the roofer with a leaky roof.
You just focus on making everybody else look great.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that's one of the things. But like I say, again, I don't want to discourage anybody from doing anything that's working, or try to say there's anything else is garbage. But if you're doing something like print ad, and that print ad is part of that net you cast out, you use that to draw them to your website to now see your video. And maybe it's that 30-second highlight video that's a little bit of wow, it's a little bit of what, it's a little bit of why, and then, oh, that's kind of cool. And so now you start looking at, well, I want to learn more about this person. Why do they do what they do? And so now we're getting into that bigger picture again of what is your customer's journey, and how do they go from zero recognition, they have no idea who you are, to a long-term client, business partner, whatever it is that end result is for you. And that definitely changes with every business.
Yes. Yeah, we had a comment that just says comprehensive marketing plan with strategic number of impressions made over various media sources. So yeah, there you go.
That sounds like somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Yes, Councilwoman White, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. Here's, I guess, the final question. How can people get a hold of you?
Let's see. Gosh, I should have made a slide for that, huh?
I have this ready.
Oh, there you go. Good. Heather's got my back on it. Yeah. There's my email address. Go ahead, check that out. Just a little bit of background information on why my email and my website don't match. It's been a long process, but we rebranded from Endeavor Production Group to Endeavor Video Marketing. And that's how much I believe in what it is that I'm doing, and the difference between the two. It used to be that we produced content. It was commercials. It was stuff that big businesses knew what they wanted. Not necessarily giant businesses or whatever, but we focused on the content side of things, and it was that narrow focus. As internet video and marketing started to expand, it opened up the opportunity to a lot more businesses, but they didn't necessarily know who's our target audience, where are we going to find them, what's our message, what's our unique selling position, and they didn't know, okay, how do we reach them, where are we going to be, where are we going to put that content. So we made our scope a little bit broader to work with clients who need that definition as to who their market is. They want to know what's our plan in place to finish this, rather than here's your video, have fun, good luck with it. So that's why we changed to Endeavor Video Marketing. I haven't finished that website. There's some fun stuff on there. I got a lot of stuff that's almost done, but there you go. But if you go to so that's my email is ggrant@endeavorvm for videomarketing.com. There's a landing page and then a link to our regular site, which is Endeavor Production Group. That has more samples of our work. But that also includes, some projects that we do for KVCR, which is our local PBS station, a television show that we work on there, and some of the other type of content.
Cool. Well, excellent. Well, if anybody has any questions for Glenn, reach out to him. And again, thank you so much for all of the information that you provided. That it's so helpful, and I know it gets overwhelming for people to think about video. I don't understand how it works, but you really gave a really good synopsis of everything.
Well, good, thank you. And I hope everybody watching now and in the future, I hope it was beneficial. That was my goal. My goal was to give you again, interesting content that is meaningful and that you can work with. And any questions you want to take it further, I'd be happy to help out. Suggestions on idea of what those videos should look like. You know, for me, it's again, it's that 80-20. I'm going to give you 80%. And then maybe I'll just a little 20% try to convince you to sign a contract.
There you go.
But
like
I'm
any
not
good business owner should be.
It's easy. We build a relationship and we work together. And if that's work, that's, you know, that money's exchanged because you see value in what I do, then fantastic. You know, but I mean, I really want to see local businesses do well and reach their goals and their dreams.
Excellent. Well, thanks again. And everybody, just make sure you share this. That way, you know, they get the understanding of video and how important it is from the expert himself, Glenn. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.